Phase 2 is complete at Avengers Infinity Defense, and now we're moving on to actually seeing this building come into focus. Meanwhile, something really exciting may be headed to the Fantasyland Theater next year. We're going to get to both of these stories real quick, but first, also more great news coming from Fantasyland. This view you're looking at here, as of last week, had scrim and scaffold. That's the area that separates Storybook Land from Dumbo Jr., and all that scrim is down, all that scaffolding is down, and we can see Monster of the Whale, the top of the dome of Monster of the Whale, which is very exciting because that means we're getting near complete. This project is almost done. If they're starting to take stuff down, then you can expect that they've achieved whatever it is that they're trying to achieve or getting close to it, and now they're just doing the finishing touches. Scrim and scaffold coming down on any site is always a very good sign, especially when you could see something as wonderful and beautiful and historic as Monster of the Whale at Storybook Land. Now, if we kick this camera over to Casey Jr., we can see that everything looks pretty much the same from here. Nothing has changed. The scrim and scaffold are still up. We still see the scrim over that part of the bridge where we were speculating if maybe that was the area where they might be installing whatever that 10-foot structure is. We still don't know where that is, but I will say this. There's not very much of this track we can see. There's only just small little pockets. Everything else is very well obscured, even from Dumbo. I've tried a couple times, and you can't see anything from up there hardly, except for what we can already see from the ground. So while I thought maybe perhaps that might be the spot, it doesn't look like it to me, actually, because there's no 10-foot thing happening there. So we're going to be looking for whatever it is that they're doing. It's in a spot that we can't see. But I do think that it's coming to the point now where we're going to find out pretty soon, whatever it is, or if it is anything at all. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a 10-foot wall. I don't know. But if it's something, Disney's going to be speaking soon. Disney is going to make some kind of announcement soon because, if it's show related, they're going to want to talk about it, especially if stuff is coming down. So be on the lookout for something from Disney or nothing at all. Maybe, like I said, it's just some sort of random 10-foot structure that has nothing to do with the show. More good news coming out of Big Thunder. Now, it looks pretty much the same as we left it the last few weeks. There's but one very interesting observation I made when I was here is that there are 3 trains on the track that have been covered in scrim or covered in some kind of wrap. One of those trains has had its wrap removed, which is exciting because that, again, is a signal of some sort of progress, right? If they don't want to wrap that train anymore, what is that? I'm panning to the left. That is a smokestack for a train. Maybe it's for one of the ones, maybe they take it off, one of the covered ones, and that's this. Oh man, I got to go back and look at that again. I guess they don't wrap. How many trains do they have? I'm not sure. It could be a 4th train, but it does look like it's not the whole train. It's kind of, a little akimbo, as it were. It's off to the side and leaning over, so it's not on a track. It's not anything. It's just they've just set it down like it's in the rafters or in the garage or you know what I mean? It's in the basement. Somebody's gonna put that in the basement of their house and say, "Yeah, I found this over at the Big Thunder train yard. I don't know if they're gonna use it or not, but I got it. You guys want to see a cool smokestack for a train?" Anyway, that's interesting. But yeah, so we've got a train unmasked and a train unbuilt. Let's see if we can't find anything elsewhere. We have just a few little slices where we can look through things, but nothing has changed much. I can still see scaffolding. That scaffolding that you see through the queue, that's on this side, where the train goes through the dinosaur bones and then it makes that right turn. That's about where that scaffolding is through the queue there. So I'm not sure what that could be working on. Probably just cosmetic stuff, paint and polish perhaps, but I don't think that's show related. Or if it is not show related, it's not guest facing. It's for ops or that kind of thing. And then around the back side of Big Thunder, we can see there's that other train that we've been seeing that's been wrapped up. And then way off in the distance, I can see some more scaffolding there. That scaffolding is at the very top of the lift hill, just before you find the dynamite-eating goat. So what that's for, I don't know. But there it is. All right. Let's get out back onto Harbor Boulevard. Let's talk about that evolution. That's the current state of Avengers Infinity Defense, and it is still evolving, still growing. It looks like there's quite a bit of activity actually on this morning. It's about 8 a.m. in the morning as I record this, and there's a whole crew on that middle section, or top section, I'm sorry. It almost looked like glass, but I think that's like a green netting around the perimeter of that building. But yeah, there's a lot of crew on the roof of the secondary building, the one behind it. There's a third level to the building to the left, which we will zoom out into. So that's the main Avengers Infinity Defense building. I'm really curious. I gotta look at that concept art again when we get on the ground. Last week I thought, what is that? What are those green things in there? Oh yeah, okay. I think those are just lifts, probably the smaller size lifts that you could probably, get inside the building and then reach some of the harder to, reach areas inside the building, I guess. For a second there, I thought that was built into the structure, but I think those are just lifts. But that's about all we can see, I think, from this side of things. As I've mentioned previously, the view from Harbor, from outside the park, is getting less and less useful, I think. We're going to have better views from the ground at Avengers Infinity Defense, or I should say at Avengers Campus, which we'll go to in a little bit. But we'll take one last look at what those guys are doing. There we go. There's the guys that we saw. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says at least 6 guys up there. Wonder what they're up to. Most likely working on surface, the decking for that roof level. There's many layers to this. This is just one of those. It's kind of like sheet metal, I'm sure, that they're putting down now. Matter of fact, we'll hopefully get a better look at that later. Let's get on Harbor Boulevard, where I found another truck out here. And he's bringing in what looks to be some I-beams, some heavy-duty I-beams for building more of that structure of Avengers Infinity Defense. So it turns out I had it completely backwards, completely wrong. Last week, I'm wondering, why are all those trucks coming in unladen, but going in? Because they're not picking up dirt. So what were they doing? I thought they were bringing in another crane. No, they were taking out a crane. They were disassembling a crane. They were exporting that thing. So all those trucks were going in were to pick up the broke down parts from that crane that we had been watching build for a long time. The reason being is that they have reached they put in all the steel. All the vertical steel that is needed to build this building is done, which is just incredible. I can't believe we've actually achieved that milestone already. But all the vertical steel is gone or done. There's no more crane inside. When we get into the park here, when we get on the Pixar Pier Center, we're going to see the shape of that building will be its final form. Meanwhile, we'll keep heading into the park. We mentioned a couple weeks ago there's construction going on at Disney Way. That sign is still telling folks be ready for a closure starting in September. You can still walk it in. I've had a few people ask me if this is going to interrupt access to the park from Harbor Boulevard. The answer is no, especially not presently. Maybe, I'm not sure what it's going to look like in the future, but that's Disney Way right now. It's still wide open, actually. The sign says it's going to close on 9/2, but it's still open. We're on 10/3 now as I record this. That's Disney Way, and it is still open to both to foot traffic and vehicle traffic. You can see people crossing the street, and you can see there they are, some vehicles coming up Disney Way. So this is still a fully accessed street. We drove by on our way home on the bus. That's Disney Way also. That's that same street we're just looking at. And to the left where we're pointing is the home of a cast member parking lot, which is the future home of the Eastern Gateway project. What we're looking at now is going to be a giant parking structure, one of the biggest ones you'll ever see in your life. And they're going to build that out here in the Eastern Gateway, or in this cast member parking lot. So that's still a ways to go. Let's get into the park. And boy, I got here to the park about an hour earlier than I usually do. And I'm not sure if this is a new development or if this is, well, the crowds are here. I haven't seen crowds like this at Harbor, whether at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or whatever. It was an incredible sight. It's been a minute since I've seen crowds like this at this time in the morning, which is roughly 8:30 or so, I think. So that was pretty exciting to see that many guests out there. and it made me, wonder what I had ahead of me in the park today. Luckily, I'm just doing construction and not trying to film the park. Let's go to Pixar Pier. Did I report this before? Mr. Potato Head is down. He's getting some work done, I guess. I don't know what's wrong or what they're working on, but this is the second week in a row that I have found Mr. Potato Head offline. Buzz Lightyear is also here. He's really short. Have you ever noticed how short Buzz Lightyear is? Let's get on the Pixar pal around and take a look. First at Coco. Still looking for any kind of movement, but it's not happening. This is supposed to, take shape. This Coco is. It starts to start happening at the end of the year. So we're still watching. Nothing happening there in the trees on Disneyland Drive. I can never remember the names of these streets. Disneyland Drive. And nothing happening, anywhere out there in that space. So Coco is a no-go right now. And it will be, I'm sure, for a little while still. One last look backstage there, but I see nothing moving back there. It looks exactly like we left it the last few trips. So there's Avengers Infinity Defense and that white roofed building. That's that building that's the new structure that we saw them build last week. We're supposing that's Stark Flight Labs. We're supposing, I'm going to get to that a little bit later because I still can't get my head around the shape of this thing. And then there's the main building for Avengers Infinity Defense. So yeah, it looks like they're doing a lot of roof work there, a lot of decking. And then we'll start seeing things. Oh, that's a welder. We got a welder happening over there. We'll start seeing this building come to life. It'll come into focus soon. There's those guys on the top left, or top story of the building. That's whom we just saw from the Harbor Boulevard. That was about a half an hour ago when I filmed them. There's that guy welding again. And then, look, they got more of that material. I think that's more of that I-beams down there on the ground. Looks to be perhaps the same as what we just saw in the truck back there. So they're bringing a lot of steel, but it's not steel that is necessary for a crane. The crane is gone. And then there, look at that. Okay, now we're talking. We've got something happening. Those permits were filed, and next week we got something happening here. In that, this is where they're building the restroom and more, presumably. That looks like vertical rebar right there, coming out of some concrete. They're getting ready for a concrete pour. We'll show more of that, but I think that's what that is. They're getting ready to build, forms or something, or footings perhaps. Although that was a lot. It's more likely going to be a concrete wall. That's my guess. Let's get on the ground, and there it is. There's another look from Luigi's. That's that vertical rebar. So that's how big, I guess, right? That we should expect that building to be. It should be as tall as that rebar, unless they trim the rebar. I'm not sure if they do that or not. That seems unnecessary, but I would rather see them trim it before they put it up. That would be weird. You take a chainsaw to the top of that? I don't know. So that could be the height of things. Let's go to Avengers Campus and take a look at what's happening here with this new structure. There it is again. Now, last week I said that I think that they're going to add more to that, but that can't be because the crane is gone. So I don't think there's any more big structural steel coming. I think that's it. There's another. Is that the same welder we saw? Yeah, he's putting. Oh, you can see all the autographs up there, guys. Yeah, they've signed that steel. That's a good sign right there. You can see where people have signed the steel. Those are cast. Casts get to sign when they reach a certain milestone. Casts get to go out there and put their name on the steel. Usually, that's when the steel is done, when they finish the frame. And we've been talking about that. Obviously, the crane is gone, so that they have. The building has been constructed. The form of it, the shape of it is done. So, when they bring in that last of the big steel, that's when cast members sign it. So one more sign that things are progressing here. Phase 2. We've gone through the dirt phase, and now we're done with the big steel phase. The next phase, phase 3, is when you start to flesh out this building and start to build things out. It'll close in. We got these pictures. This is from Critter Club on Twitter, and they were asking, they happened to catch this site when these whoosy-whatsits were dangling from the structure. This is the same structure we were looking at. It looks weird, I know, but I'm pretty sure that's just electrical that they haven't yet trimmed or terminated. It's temporary. They've installed it, and then they're going to probably run it somewhere because there's so much electrical needed. That kind of you'd see that everywhere in these buildings. It always impresses me. It amazes me how intricate electrical wiring is throughout any of these big structures like that. But you're going to find that all over the place. But so they're going to run it somewhere, and then they'll terminate it, and then it'll cap it or whatever. So that's just sort of its pre-phase. Matter of fact, that's already done because as we can see, because I'm pretty sure those pictures were taken before I took mine, because I took mine this morning as I record this. So they did run it wherever they needed to run. So thanks to Critter Club for those photos on Twitter. Now let's get back to what's going on. There's that same crew again. It looks like, yeah, there you go. They're bringing up some of that sheet metal, and there's going to be 1,000 of those, I'm sure, all over the top of that decking there. So that they're bringing that up, which is exciting. Now that's got me thinking. Again, I'm trying to figure out what's left and what was that that last piece of steel that they brought in that we were saying is the Tony Stark Flight Lab. This is the concept art that's out in that blue wall, and that right there is about where we're standing in this concept art. That's where we're standing right now as we look at this concept art, where the blue wall is. And what I'm trying to do is just figure out spatially where everything is. So guests walk in, and to the left is where they go to Avengers Infinity Defense. And then to the right is, according to this concept art, Stark Flight Lab. That new building in terms of the angle and where it appears, is there. But that's not how it looks in the concept art. Right? So the only thing I can think of is that thing right there. This is where I get confused, because if we take a closer look, it's not it's not in the same. It's facing, it's catty corner, it's at an angle, but it's the only thing that makes sense. I guess, but if there's the main structure that we were watching them build, and then they added this little appendage to it, that doesn't appear in that big building, but it's parallel to it in the live structure. This building here looks a little smaller, and it fits it dimensionally in terms of the size and scale, but it's a little shorter, and it's at a different angle. It's actually the side of it is facing us as we stand out here looking at this concept art. So I don't know. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this, which is totally normal for me. I have a very difficult time visualizing things, as I've said before. So, maybe that's 100% right. We'll see. Hopefully it comes into focus. That's the goal. Okay, so that's Avengers Infinity Defense at Avengers Campus. Let's cross the Esplanade into Disneyland, where we're seeing a pretty good-sized crowd out there in front and a pretty good-sized crowd out here in the entrance. Wow. People are showing up this morning again.
Goodness, guys. I think the crowds are back this week here at Disneyland. And this just in, GetAwayToday, our preferred travel affiliate, friends of the show, they are doing their adults at kid prices promotion again. You can buy Disneyland tickets for adults at kids prices. Now, as you watch this, as of today, when you're watching this, there are just 3 days left in that sale. You have to order by October 8th, but you can get those tickets for all of 2026, not just now, but for all of 2026. You can book your trip, and you can do it, if you do it soon, or by the 8th, you'll be doing it before they raise their prices again, which is going to be happening. It's imminent. We're due for that. So check out, there's a link in the description for GetAwayToday. Find adult tickets at kids' prices through October 8th. Hope you guys have a great trip.
Okay, let's get back in the park. Situation normal over at Indiana Jones. It's busy, but it's closed. Adventureland Treehouse. This is an interesting development. We went through here on Wednesday and noted a few things. Obviously, the buckets still don't work. The wheel's been working consistently, but the buckets haven't been working for a couple of months now. That's not a new development, but this is. Or maybe it's new to me anyway. It's been a minute since I've been in the treehouse, but Jane has stopped working. There's supposed to be an ostrich popping its head over those walls, and you can kind of hear her chittering back there. And maybe, see, there she is. That's the top of her head. But she's not popping up. She's supposed to pop up and look at you and then pop back down. So it's just Jane going around in a circle, but she's too short. We can't see her. Jane, what's up? Okay, so Jane's not working. Meanwhile, at the top level in the twins room, it looks like the monkey's gone. The little tick-tock thing that moves the dial back and forth, there's supposed to be a monkey there messing with the dial so he gets fed more often. Here's a look at what it used to look like back when they first opened. There's that monkey back there. He just keeps messing with it because he wants to get fed. So it's working, but there's no monkey. Now, this thing had stopped working for a minute, so I wonder if they're having more troubles with it. The actual dial was the pendulum thing. But now it looks like it's the monkey that's no longer operating. So that's not there. Again, this is new to me. It's been a while since I've been up the treehouse, so I'm not sure if this is a new development or not. We'll go over to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Still no water on that waterfall at the very end. Raised berets. I mean, you know what? I'm just going to show you the good side. I'm just going to show you the lush green grass on this side of raised berets. We'll go to Fantasyland. Okay, I'm just trying to get here. Troubadour Tavern is still under its refurb. Scrim is up, and walls are up at the Fantasyland Theater. As we peek over, you can see this. We can't really tell. They're building something up there on the stage, right? They're building something, preparing for something. Certainly not the Pixar Friends thing. That's not happening. Most likely that's for the Christmas setup, for the Christmas meet and greet with Santa. Now, there was reporting by Scott Gustin that there was a casting call for a new sort of improv or some kind of show that they're going to do. They were looking for people who can improvise on stage. And there was some speculation, some questioning if that could possibly be, what they're building here. Or is that going to go to the Fantasyland Theater? Now, I would suspect that, yes, because it did say for Disneyland Park. The casting call was for Disneyland Park specifically, not DCA. And that's really, it's either that or Galactic Grill, Tomorrowland Terrace, right? Now, that actually, by the way, is under refurb still, which is curious, but so maybe it is, I don't know. But it could be for Fantasyland Theater, but it's doubtful that casting call or that show is going to happen. That's not what they're doing now. If that's going to happen, that's probably not going to happen until spring. If they're doing casting now, they're not trying to build a set right now, I don't think. So I would say that that's most likely going to be for spring of next year, after the holiday season. But the question still remains, I guess, is if it's going to be Fantasyland Theater or the Tomorrowland Terrace. Hi, guys. Since I got home and I did a little more research on that casting call, I took a look at it a little more closely, and it's fascinating, you guys. This casting call is fascinating. They're casting for 7 different roles, actual roles, as opposed to just, we need a guy who can sing and dance and whatever and run around on a stage. This is different than, let's say, the Christmas show that they do or the Pixar show that they did for Pixar Fest. This is a show. They're casting for a show. And by the way, this gets even more interesting when you look at the second page. So those are the 7 roles. We got a director of operations, a perfectionist, little cranky, sweet, quirky, announcer, those, various different character types. Go to the next page and there's more roles. They're building a band. They're building a whole music section. Candidate must be a versatile woodwind player. Candidate must be able to play the trombone. Candidate must be able to play the drums or the trumpet or an acoustic guitar. Guys, they're making a show. Some sort of stage show with a band and everything. They could actually be doing a new show. This is not Tomorrowland Terrace, by the way. This is not Galactic Grill. You can't do all that stuff. I don't think. I mean, I guess they do have bands. Oh gosh, I guess it could be. They had bands there for the longest time at Tomorrowland Terrace. It could be, but I mean, to have all that, unless they're all playing the same, unless the same characters that are doing those 7 roles are also band members, then maybe it could be Tomorrowland Terrace. But this sounds more like an actual stage show, in the quality or strength of Magical Map, or something like that. They could be putting on a proper show, and hopefully this isn't temporary like the Captain America show. Hopefully this is something that they could do permanent. Guys, this is really exciting. This is really exciting. There's potential here. Something could happen. I'm not saying that it will. And, knowing Disney's history with live entertainment, I'm not overly confident, but there's potential that they could be doing something here. Wouldn't that be something? All right. Speaking of Galactic Grill, there's walls up, and you know what I mean? Like I just said, there's walls up. Maybe they are. I don't know. It's too early. If they're just casting, it would be too early for them to be doing show related stuff here, unless it's back of house. It's backstage type stuff, and nothing that would be, they're not building a set per se. So that's really encouraging. I'm hoping for the best there. Let's keep moving. Guys, have you seen what's going on inside the Star Trader? There's almost no Star Wars merch in there. I mean, look at that right up there on the lease line. That's all Halloween merch. That was definitely Star Wars. To the left, this has always been Star Wars. This is usually a kid's Star Wars section. That's all generic. To the left. Keep going back. Okay, this is where Marvel took over for a little while. They were selling a bunch of Marvel merch here, and then it was seasonal stuff like the 70th. So that's still happening. Back in the corner, that was always Star Wars. This is now generic merch. Generic, right here in the middle of the shop, right down this lane right here is prime time Star Wars location. So it looks like all we're getting now is this one little section off here to the left. That's it. Well, actually, that's not it. There's a little bit more right there. This used to be, well, it still is, I guess. There's Star Wars merch there. So that's centerpiece on the way back to Star Tours. That's generic on the left and right, and then on that back wall, there was Star Wars. And then finally, when you get back to the exit through the gift shop for Star Tours, you have a lot of proper Star Tours merchandise. What's going on? I kind of don't know what to make of that. That is an interesting development. I mean, I've watched that store evolve over the past 13 years, but I don't think I've ever seen it quite like that, where it's just, I would say, the main section is probably 75% generic merchandise. The Star Trader. All right, we still got a little more show to go here. Let's get back to DCA. There's the latest from Napa. They're still building the exterior seating back there. Kind of difficult to see where they're at, although, I don't see a lot of construction happening per se. One thing I did put eyes on was that they're doing something back here with horticulture. He's watering. Like, why don't they have sprinklers here? Why is there a guy out there manually watering? Because they're growing new stuff here, I think. I think they're trying to make this really pretty for guests that are sitting out there on that patio. They want to make some nice, pretty horticulture type stuff to look at, I'm guessing. They've also, if you come around the other side, they've dug out. Look at all that. There's a huge trench, right? There's a huge trench there. You know how I know there's a huge trench? Because I zoomed in because I wanted to read that sign. And the sign says, danger, there's an open trench. So they've dug a trench on the other side of the Napa Rose dining area. So fascinating development there. Grizzly River, when I stopped by real quick, we had reported that the geysers were working again. They were off while I was here, which had me concerned, but the ride was also off. You can see all the rafts are empty. So they were cycling boats, but no geysers. And then, yay, there they are. Okay, so the geysers are still working. Heck yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Go. That's awesome. The geysers make a difference. We'll go to downtown Disney, Naples. I always get Naples and Napa Rose confused. Naples, it's still open, but it's behind a whole bunch of scrim and scaffold there. Probably just doing some cosmetic work on the facade, but that's pretty extensive. You can still get a table there. That I don't know if there's seating upstairs or not, though. Seems like that would be kind of a poor seat. You'd have no view. Nothing happening once more here at Tortilla Joe's. Taking a quick peek over the wall. Yeah, nothing. They're still waiting for that to turn up. Lego store is still going through its remodel. We took a peek real quick through the fence, and it looks like they dug up the concrete out there in front of the Lego store. I don't know if that's going to be related to any sort of show type element there, or if they're just doing concrete. And no development yet on if they're putting in a new Lego structure on the other side. We'll go to ESPN Zone. Look at this, you guys. Look at. Do you see right in the middle there? That's new glass. They finally did something. This is how it looked last week. Not great. And this is how it looks this week. It's that same breeze block with the hidden Mickey pattern that we've seen elsewhere around. So it looks like they're going to install that there in the middle. And then over here on the right, they're getting ready. They got the plastic wrap up there. So that's happening. And then they got more plastic wrap, and looks like they're getting ready to do something else with this alternate entrance point to what used to be the ESPN zone. So they're finally doing something here. Meanwhile, on the left side, I guess they'll probably eventually get to that, but it's happening. You're doing it, Disney. You're flying. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, so it looks like they're finally, I guess they're going in a positive direction here finally at ESPN Zone, which will eventually be Lululemon in winter, which is, as early as December, right? Possibly January or February. And then finally, the Earl of Sandwich has been relegated to the end of the report. We're at the end of the report because Earl of Sandwich still, this is like the 8th week in a row where I have nothing to talk about. Nothing. Nothing's happening at Earl. I can't even hear anything. Okay, with that, we'll take a quick look at the refurb calendar. As of this week, Casey Jr. is closed, as is Storybook Land. Those are both going to be closed. We do not have a reopening date still as of yet, but things are looking up in terms of them getting somewhere. But right now, we're looking at least November 14th. Same thing for Big Thunder. It's closed. No reopening date yet. We're looking at least the middle of November right now. King Arthur Carousel will close for a day on October 7th. It's a Small World is about to close, or will close on October 30th, last day before Halloween, and then reopen on the 14th with the holiday overlay. Goofy Sky School in DCA is going to close, or it is closed, and will reopen on October 5th. So that's going to be down for, well, actually, by the time you see this, Goofy Sky School should be open. There you go. Great. Mickey's PhilharMagic closing on October 6th. That'll be, 4, 5, 6? That'll be Monday, right? Yeah, Monday the 6th. That's today as you record this, or as you watch this, I should say, and reopening on October 31st. And then Redwood Creek Challenge closing on November 1st, reopening on November 14th. And that is our construction update for this week. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.